The second thing that I wanted to share with you, which I've been thinking about, is around this question of, do I want to be the exception and what is the price for that? So most of you, I'm sure you've heard of that phrase, which goes something on the lines of, there is always an exception to every rule, right? I'm sure you've heard of that expression. And what I found is, essentially, and I'm generalizing here, most of life is pretty consistent. For example, if we looked at, let's say, bodybuilding, to become a bodybuilding champion, most bodybuilders have to follow a certain kind of path. They have to do certain kinds of poses. They have to do similar type of training, right? I think we can kind of agree with that. Now, obviously, some people may go to the gym 7 times a week. Some people may go and work out legs 3 times a week or once a week. Different people, different things. But in spite of that, there is always an exception. There is some people who only go to the gym twice a week and they will be able to have a body which somebody has to go to the gym 7 days a week to be able to achieve. If, let's say the example of a relationship. The average relationship doesn't realistically last 40, 50 years. That's the average relationship, just doesn't last for that period of time. But as we all know, there are some relationships that do. And so the thing that I've been really thinking about is, life is essentially built on a set of systems and a set of rules, and everything is kind of predictable, and there is certain systems and certain lifestyles and certain goals and certain ambitions. And the thing that I was thinking about is, do you want to be part of the system and part of that rule and part of that kind of network, or do you want to be the exception? And I'm not saying that there is one is better than the other, because, as I say, we're all different and we all want different things. And the thing that I've been thinking about for myself is, okay, obviously you can become an exception, right? Because some of you guys might say, actually, Cass, I know that a lot of people end up... I was having a conversation with my sister, and my sister was saying to me, Cass, I don't want to get married because there's a 50% chance that I might get divorced. And I said to my sister, yeah, I know, Amina, but whilst there is a 50% chance that you might get divorced, there is also a 50% chance that your relationship is going to work out, that you're going to make it, that you're going to be one of the other 50% who make it through, who become a success. And I was thinking that if you do decide that you want to be the exception, that you want to be the person who breaks the rules and does the thing that is different, that obviously comes at a price. That there is a price that comes with being different. There is a price that comes. For example, some of you might decide that you would like to be somebody who has 3, 4, 5, 6 properties which are rented out, and that you create an income from. The average person doesn't have 3, 4, 5, 6 properties rented out. And so what I'm saying to you is that would be an exception, and that there is a price that you have to pay for that exception. And I was just thinking that a lot of people don't realize and don't pay attention to the fact that whilst you can have everything, you cannot have everything all at once, which means that something has to be sacrificed, something has to be given up for you to be part of the exception. But in the same principle, when we look at somebody who decides that they would like to be part of the system, somebody who would like to have a normal job, they want to work for a company for 20, 30 years of their life, they want to go down their job giving them a pension, they want stability. If that is the life that you want, that means that there is also a price that you have to pay for that kind of life. For example, you're not going to be able to have the kind of freedom to be able, if you own your own business and you decided, you know what, I own my business, I have people who work for me, so I'm going to take 1 month off. I'm going to take 2 months off this year, and I'm going to go traveling. You could do that if you owned your own business. You wouldn't have to ask for permission from anyone. But if you were working for a company, you can't just do that, right? You would need to give an explanation. You would need to give really good reasons. There is no guarantee that your job is going to be there when you come back. right? So do you see what I mean? There is a price that you have to pay. And I was just thinking whether how many of you guys who are listening to me, whether you've decided which path that you're going to go down. Are you going to go down the path where you've decided that you're going to be part of the exception, or have you chosen to be part of the rule, to be part of the normal people who end up operating from the certain space? And if you have, what is the price that you've had to pay to get that? And I say this to you because there are some of you who are listening to me, and it's the reason why I was thinking about this for myself is that a lot of us, what we tend to do is we refuse to choose to go into either one of these bands. We want a hybrid. We want a combination. And the issue is, a combination works, but it is an even more refined version of either both of these. Does that make sense? It's a hybrid and a more refined version of fitting out, of being an anomaly. And what I'm saying to you is that if you decide not to either fit in, or you decide either not to stand out, it means that you are never really fully invested in something, which means that you're almost having to pay the price, double the amount of price that you should be paying. And a lot of the time, that's maybe part of the reason why you're not making progress in your life, right? Let me tell you specifically why I was thinking about this. So many of you guys know that I have a full-time job. I work for Intesco's, and at the same time I'm studying to become a counsellor, which will eventually lead me to become a clinical psychologist. And I've come to realize that if I really want to learn as much as I can and add value to you guys' life, I'm going to have to give up essentially working full-time to maintain a certain type of life and lifestyle in Tesco's, so that I can focus most of my attention on Casamotive, on learning about how I can add more value into your life, on refining my ideas, on refining my strategies, on refining my tactics. And when I'm in this state where I'm trying to work full-time in Tesco's and I'm trying to work full-time on Casamotive, it just doesn't work, right? It just doesn't work, and it means that I'm having to pay double the price because I'm never really exerting I'm almost always putting 50% of my energy into each one of these instead of 100% or 70% or 80% of my energy into one of these two areas. And it's just, I don't know whether you can relate or this is even really relative to you, but it's just something that I would ask you to consider. But branch it out, because what I mean by this is I'm not just talking about work or wealth. I mean in your relationship. You might be in a position now where you are playing 3, 4, 5 different girls. And you can do that, right? There is a place for you to play 3, 4 different girls. Or you might be somebody who's decided that you're going to stick to one girl. That's fine. There is a place for that as well. But what I'm saying is that each one of these paths has advantages and disadvantages. And if you decide to try and create this hybrid, it just doesn't work. Rarely does it work. Now, in saying that, I did say earlier on, there is always an exception to every rule. But my point is, if you decide to be the exception, the sacrifice that you will have to pay will be greater. Do you know what the price is? So that's what I wanted to share with you in regards to that. The last thing that I wanted to share with you, which I've been thinking a lot